over. This one's today.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, July 8th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting for the City of South Haven. I call the meeting to order. Next up, we'll have a roll call.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Todd Heinrich,
Here.
Michael Neese,
Here.
Amy Nichols. Here. Lai G. Haney,
Here.
George Sleeper. Is he still on? Okay. Janice Barney.
Here.
Tim Stegman.
Here, and I'd like to welcome Elijah as the newest member of the Planning Commission, and then also if we could get a motion to excuse George Sleeper this evening.
I would make a motion to excuse George Sleeper.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to excuse George Sleeper from this evening's meeting. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we'll have the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as written. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Next up, we'll have the approval of the meeting minutes. This is a two-parter, 4A, 4B.
I'll move that we approve the amendment to the May 6th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
So you're tackling 4B first?
I thought, I'm doing B first.
Okay. Is there any support?
I support.
Been moved and supported to the amendment to the May 6, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to point out that we don't attempt to take verbatim minutes here. And I think correcting a comma in one word, which really doesn't change the meaning much, sets a dangerous precedent.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I would concur. We're just taking out a word. They aren't verbatim. We do a nice job of probably getting the essence of the comments that are created. You know, we do have other ways of looking at what was said, if that is what an individual felt, but I'm just not sure if there's a lot here to really move on. The hardest part about it is we start taking these, and then this becomes a normal standard way of doing things. You know, and I like consistency. If we do it for a certain portion of a request, I like to be consistent for the future. I'm not sure if we're, if we do this, if we're going down the right path.
Okay. Anyone else?
While I did make the motion, I agree with the comments. There are many times when I read my own words, and the crux of what I'm saying is accurately represented, but not to the letter of what I spoke. And sometimes I'm thankful for that Marcia edits my words.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. We've been through discussion, and we'll do a roll call.
I'm voting on support of
4B.
4B. No.
Haney,
I support.
Gruber,
No.
Heinig,
No.
Heinrich,
No.
Neese,
No.
Nichols,
No.
Barney. I'm sorry, Stegman.
No. Does not pass. Okay, next up is, or the last one would be 4A.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the June 3rd regular meeting minutes as printed.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the June 3rd, 2021 regular meeting minutes as written. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is item 5. Interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on this agenda. Is there anybody that wishes to speak about an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 6, old business. Master plan goals and actions discussion, fire pits and outdoor barbecues. I'd like to hopefully conduct this one in about 20 minutes if we can. So who's gonna speak to this one from staff from where we left off last month?
Going to have Brad take this one on. This is a continuation of the discussion from last month. The directive or the general direction that the planning commission was headed was wanting to discuss more specifics with regard to distancing from both structures and lot lines. And so that's essentially the crux of tonight's discussion.
Thanks, Travis. Yes, basically what I did was revise the suggestion of what I originally had in from last month was that the fire pits, outdoor fire pits will be 10 feet from a principal structure on the lot and 25 feet from any other structure. There was some comments made about distancing between buildings, whether they're on your site or on your lot or at a neighboring lot. So I went back with some of the recommendations and adjusted that to 25 feet. I did leave the 10 feet of the lot line distance the same as it was, but now it reads that the outdoor fireplaces, outdoor fire pits, or outdoor barbecues shall not be located within 25 feet of a principal structure or accessory structure and shall not be located closer than 25 feet from any neighboring principal or accessory structure.
Okay. So I think he came up with what we had asked. Is there any other input to give Brad at this time?
I did have a question on language, if I might. On section 201-15, it talks about permanent outdoor fire pit is open in design, goes on and on, says, for the private use of the property owner or the property owner's guest for cooking food, for consumption or recreational enjoyment. Are we to see the term guest also applying as renters for short-term vacation rentals?
When I drafted this, it was typically who's ever in occupation of the house at the time, as long as they are in residence at that building. Whether it's a weekly renter or not, I guess that would be the owner's choice to do so. But yes, I didn't specifically state that in there.
Yeah, I was fine with that as long as it was clear on it. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody
Mr.
else?
Chairman, I do have one more thing. I'd like to direct staff's attention to page 27 of our packet.
All right, let's catch up with you, Larry.
Okay.
Give us a second.
I'll give you further reference. That's section 1714, item number 2.
Okay.
Where you put in the new language. Line number 9.
In part 2?
Yes, in part 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Starts out proposed.
It starts out in the next line, be of such a nature. I think we've got a typo there. We should insert the word not between 2 and B.
Yeah.
To not be injurious?
Correct.
Yeah. You're a good catch. Yep. Okay. Anybody else?
I just want to make sure that I have a good understanding and clarification. So an outdoor barbecue, so that would be like my gas grill with propane?
The way it's defined in this ordinance would be a permanent outdoor barbecue, being constructed as a landscape feature. So you've seen around town, many people constructing like permanent block, decorative block style barbecues that you physically cannot move them. This does not apply to ones that you could wheel around your yard.
Or let's say a Charm Glow that's connected to.
Correct.
Okay, so if I were to do a brick barbecue that had a natural gas barbecue from Charm Glow within it, that structure couldn't be at the end of my 15-foot brick deck. It would have to be 25 feet at the end if that was attached to my principal residence.
Correct, yep.
And is this in new construction, or so those that, let's say, already have one, would we be forcing them to take that down? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Oh, Brad, I don't think they can hear you.
No, it's pre-existing. So typically in zoning, if it's a pre-existing item before an ordinance is enacted, we do not go in and require people to remove the nonconformity that's created.
Thank you.
All right. The changes that have been suggested as in draft, are there any changes you would want for the draft that's been proposed? If not, we'll instruct staff to finish it up and notice for the August 5th meeting. So that's the motion we'll need then to go forward.
Let's try it. I'll make a motion that we accept the draft as written and ask the staff to prepare it for review and approval on the August 8th meeting.
Public hearing. Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Public hearing. Is it 8th or 5th?
8.
8th.
8th, I thought.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next up, we'll get into new business. And prior to getting into new business, item 7, I want to add that we have received, by my count, 12 communications. And those 12 are David, and forgive me if I pronounce the names incorrectly, but David Tuttle, Mary Hosley, Don Sinetra, Leanne Lazan, Lisa Veck, Linda Schabel, Deborah Kiekrich, Daniel Aganello, Lynn Fedua, Craig Massey, John and Cora Rubitschon, and Del Kelly. All right.
Is that for the St. Joseph Street or for the?
It was a mix.
It was a mix, okay.
It was a mix. And I don't know how else to acknowledge
Okay.
receipt other than that. Item 7, new business, 879 St. Joseph rezoning application.
Yep, so this is an application that the property owners, Ms. Typhino and Mr. Ben Levesque, have applied for. They have indicated their desire to construct single-family homes on these 3 parcels. The parcels, as of right now, are zoned I-1 light industrial. The request is to rezone these to R1A single-family. The lot sizes comply with the R1A regulations. They're a pretty perfect fit width-wise. As is noted in the staff report, the general direction of this area of the city is toward more residential uses. And so that, like I said, that's in line with the current trend. It was identified in the master plan as potentially being a site for, I guess, what could be considered some sort of row housing or some sort of housing that we don't currently have in the city. Right now, we don't have a zoning district that that would allow for the contemplated use in the master plan. And so really, until that were true, that's really not an option, nor should what is discussed in the master plan be taken to exclude them from potentially moving this toward a single-family parcel, like I said, in sticking with the general trend of the area. Additionally, it still does provide the opportunity then for residential uses on these parcels. The parcels are too small to be used for any sort of industrial use, so.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff prior to opening a public hearing? Janice?
Travis, is this considered part of a PUD development, or is this just individual homes?
No, these are just individual. So right now, they're just 3 individual I-1 light industrial parcels. The request from the owners is to rezone them to just simply 3 individual R1A lots.
Anybody else? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the public hearing for 879 St. Joseph for rezoning.
I will second.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on item 7, 879 St. Joseph rezoning application? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing on 879 St. Joseph rezoning.
Yeah, I'll support. Oh, go ahead.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up would be to,
Dispose of it?
yeah.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the rezoning of 879 St. Joseph Street and recommend the rezoning approval to the city council
From I-1 to R1A.
from I-1 to R1A.
Very good motion.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 8, 229 Elkenberg rezoning application and public hearing. Travis?
So this is, it's regarding 229 Elkenberg. It's the property owned by the city. Before we get started with the discussion on this, wanted to just bring to commissioners' attention that staff has received concern this week regarding the status of the application at the time it was submitted. There are folks who feel that each of the criteria that the Planning Commission has to evaluate this application by should have been completed on the application itself at the time it was submitted. So due to those concerns, the recommendation of staff tonight is going to be to continue with the public hearing and then simply to keep the public hearing open going into the month of August and then continue it at the August meeting, at which point action would be sought on the item. So if that pleases the Planning Commission, that would be the recommendation from staff. So.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff about this item? All right, seeing none, we'll open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the rezoning application for the property at 229 Elkenborg Street from I-1A to RM1.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to open the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak about 229 Elkenberg? Okay, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Lindsay Smith, North Shore Estates on the north side. Just a quick question. Does this involve the building of housing, a housing complex in that brownfield?
Rezoning? No, I wouldn't say that right now.
Or are we not there yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay, all right, that's,
It's not a site plan review, it's a zoning.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard. I just had a question. Of those letters that you got, how many had to do with this particular site versus 879 St. Joseph?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you.
Could we get an answer to that at some point from staff? And when you said that the zoning doesn't have to do with the site plan, we have all been to meetings and seen a site plan for that property. So I think it's very misleading to be telling the gentleman or other people that it is not about the site plan, because the rezoning is specifically for a site plan we've sat through multiple meetings to see.
I would disagree with you.
You would not?
I would.
You would. Could
This
you
is, this,
explain?
like, clearly, this is clearly for zoning. A site plan actually has the development that we would look at, and that's where you would get into your density discussions.
But you did show us a site plan intended for that property that you are rezoning for that purpose, is that correct?
No.
You're not going to use that property for that?
I don't know what it's going to be used for. Right now, we're just looking at a zoning.
I think that kind of speaks to my problem with transparency here. Thank you.
I guess I could, if I may,
Okay.
just to comment on that. So right now, it's currently zoned as a light industrial space.
Correct.
And the city took ownership of that quite a while ago. And within the master plan, it has always been a goal, I think, to look at some type of housing opportunities within the city. The city now owns that property. The city hasn't been looking at going and finding a light industrial factory to come into that property. But we have been looking at trying to see how to expand housing opportunities. So
you
one
do
of the
not
first
have
steps,
any agreement with Habitat at this point for that property. Is that correct?
I'm saying, do I know, I haven't signed one, no. What I'm saying is our goal has been to look at that for housing, whether it's single-family, multifamily, some type of housing development. So a good logical step would to move the zoning of that property to some type of residential, and that's what we're doing now.
So basically, you're saying that we have to wait to talk about any other issues down the road for that particular property once you choose a plan?
Correct.
I-
Correct, yeah, because
Farther
that's,
along from
what's on the
meeting.
table now is rezoning the property.
Okay. I still stand by, I think there's a little bit of lack of transparency, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
Just to clarify, and Tim, you've pretty much already kind of hit on it, but tonight's discussion is simply about the application to rezone the property. And
Yes.
Clark, as you stated, this runs with exactly what the master plan contemplates, which was either for residential or recreational use of this property at some point. At this point, no site plan has been reviewed, no site plan has been submitted.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? And if you don't speak tonight, the next meeting, you'll have a chance to as well.
Hello, I'm Kay Engelbrecht. I live at 125 Elkenberg Street. In the application for the rezoning, it's stated that it's moving it from the light, or from the industrial to what type of rezoning? Doesn't it state the type of what is that?
It does, yes, RM1, multifamily residential.
So it has said it's going to be multifamily, or that is what it's requesting?
That is the zoning that's being requested, yeah.
Okay, so it isn't asking for single family, it is asking for multifamily. That has already been decided. by the Planning Commission or by the City Council. That is what they're looking at with Habitat.
Correct.
So my comment tonight is that what they're looking at does not fit in with the neighborhood. The neighborhood is all single-family residential. You have just approved single-family residential for 879 St. Joseph Street, which is 2 blocks over from 229 Elkenberg Street. So it's confusing and contrary to the explanation that we heard before, that it's appropriate to rezone the light industrial at 879 St. Joseph Street from light industrial to R1, because that's what the entire neighborhood is surrounded by, the R1 residential. When probably less than 100 yards away, maybe 50 yards away, you're asking to rezone this property to multifamily residential. That's totally different. Why is that appropriate there where it's not appropriate at 879? So I believe that you need to think carefully about why you're speaking out of one side of your mouth that it's appropriate at 879, but it's not to be R1, but you're saying it's appropriate to put it multifamily at 229 Elkenberg. However, if you do go to the multifamily residential at 229 Elkenberg, I think you need to be very cautious in the number of units that are put into 229 Elkenberg. 144 units is way too many for the size of that property. There was a study done for the city back, I believe, in 2017 that recommended 80 units on that property, not 144. 80 units would be a nice mix, or a nice amount. The number of rental units that are proposed for that property is much higher than what was recommended for the townhouses that would be for sale. We're looking for housing for new employees or current employees that are residing here who have to live out of South Haven in order to have affordable housing. And some of those people will want to buy a home and be a permanent resident. They're talking about, in order to provide adequate parking, they want to put in the initial building with 118 rental units with only 1.2 parking spaces per unit, even though some of those units will have 2 and 3 bedrooms. They'll change the dynamics of the development as time goes on. If they need more parking, they're going to eliminate the townhomes. That removes home ownership possibility. There needs to be less apartments, not 3-story. If they do it, limit it to 2-story apartments, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, and if you just hang on a minute, while you come up to the podium, please. But Travis, could you put up a zoning map for that area, just so we can look at it while we're doing this? And while you get that going, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jean-Joseph, and I'm a resident at 106 Orchard Drive.
Sorry, sir. Could you spell your name?
Jean, Jean, and last name Joseph, Joseph.
And your address again?
106 Orchard Drive.
Thank you.
So I want to start with a question. The application for rezoning, is that something that was put in by the potential developers of the site? Like who?
I'll let Travis answer that if he would.
So it's being applied for jointly by the city and the developer that the city has been in contact with.
Okay. And has the city considered the surroundings, the fact that there's a lot of R1B closer to the lakeside, and then there's a high density of R1A on the other side, and the site seems to be in between the two, and it seems like it's sort of anomaly that one area would be rezoned as a RM1, and is there, being that the city is joint applying, could I get some insight as to why that was the zoning choice for that area?
We put the zoning map up on the screen for everyone to take a look at. The subject of this discussion here tonight is the pink colored parcel with the 200 on it, located immediately to the east of the factory condos. I think if you look at the zoning map here, you can see that, I mean, the immediately adjacent property to the west is zoned the same as what this application is proposing, as well as the immediately adjacent to the south.
I can understand why the factory condos would be zoned that way, because, I mean, that structure's been there for a while and it's been repurposed. But we're talking about a blank field, and there's, you know, the same pink or purple, whatever you want to call it, the 3 lots that you just ruled on the other side. And obviously the argument of keeping that as RM1, you know, changing that wasn't used. So it seems to me that it would be logical and beneficial to the community if you either continued a continuation of the R1B, and, I mean, you have all this land below that's already zoned as RM1, although, are any of those, is the Everett Park, excuse me, what's that called, the new one, all those that are going in now, those?
Everett Park is probably a good way to describe it.
Okay. Are they still RM1, or they haven't applied for change? Because those don't seem like.
They're all considered RM1.
They are considered RM1, okay. I guess what I'm asking is, are there any precedents in the past where you would look at a situation like this and try to keep the flow of the city so that you don't take a plot of land that's right smack in the middle and surrounded by, you know, R1B and R1A, and then just flip it and have it be something that's completely different? Because it seems to me it would change the infrastructure of that area. I mean, what is the argument behind why you wouldn't do it?
Apartment complex.
I'm saying, why is the apartment complex?
An apartment complex would be, and that was part of it, when we looked at the master plan charrettes that were put together, that was kind of what the community had, you know, potential vision for that. So RM1 would be probably the best zoning to provide the most flexibility for that. We've got, I think, the 125 Elkenberg, which is RM1. We've got the Everett Park, which is RM1, both the developed piece, the undeveloped piece, and in fact, later on in this meeting, we're going to have a discussion regarding some additional changes for the next phase of building within the Everett Park. And in fact, that phase, according to the 2006 PUD, has quite a few duplexes in it, which would be, you know, a part of that. So, you know, I look at that property as RM1, providing the most flexibility for that. I live in an RM1, and it would actually put it contiguous to another RM1 and across the street from another RM1. So you can look at that as being appropriate for the area.
So is it because there's the potential of having the entire area developed by one company, and it makes it so much
Well,
easier to deal with?
John, I think what we should do is continue with the public hearing, and then when we're out of the public hearing and the commission starts to talk about this, since George isn't here tonight, and Clark was on city council when this started to happen, maybe he'll speak a little bit to why this request is being made and how they came to that request, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I'm Mary Cordova, 918 St. Joseph. So I'm a new resident to South Haven, so this is all new to me. So I love the community, but I moved in like right smack dab across the street from all the new additions that they're putting in. And I can tell you when I bought the house, it was just a field, a couple, just dirt. And I would like to echo the comments made by my fellow neighbors that I've never met. Maybe I'll meet you. But the traffic, the congestion, everything, like since I've moved in, it's like night and day. And then the more commotion that seemed like I said, it was an empty field, and the more commotion that's happening there and the more people and things that are happening, it just seems to becoming more of a focus point, drawing in other areas. And for me, going to downtown South Haven, because really, and there's rental units everywhere. These people that just bought these houses, some of them, there's already renters coming in and out of them. The flow of everybody goes towards downtown. And I'm just telling you, it's getting more and more difficult to get downtown from just where I live, just from just the commotion that's happening now. And I would do the same argument as I don't understand why R1A would not be applicable in that area either, because that seems to be all the surrounding area. And then create more density as far away from your single-family homes as possible, out of the way of the flow of everyone to the city. That just seems logical to me, instead of, like, people were making the arguments, you have all these single-family homes, and then you're creating a congestion block there. There's not really a way around that because of how large it is. Like, you cannot cut down Able Avenue in Everett Parkway. There's no way to cut around. Like, you have to go up St. Joseph or up Indiana, and half the time they have something blocking Eckenberg right there too. There's just a lot. I know the construction will end, but from a traffic standpoint, that's not an easily accessible area. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Mary Lynn Boogie. I live at 70 Gabriel Drive. I'd like to speak in opposition to rezoning this to R1. And the reason I'm saying that, some of them have already been expressed, is because this area is surrounded by single-family homes. The factory condominiums, yes, it is R1, MR1, excuse me, but however, it actually is of a density that would be equal to single-family homes if they were on that site. It's very small, it's not intrusive, and it is appropriately sized for the property that it's on. I believe that you could perhaps consider maybe R2 on this property, which would give more flexibility as to what would go on there without making it into multifamily and being very intense. And when we were at the charrette, which I shared the same group as Clark, as a matter of fact, there were people who wanted recreation, and there were other people that looked at housing. And the housing that was proposed on almost every example in the charrette was single family. Clark and I were in the group that actually proposed a couple of very small multifamily buildings. I think we had 4 units in each one. Was that right, Clark? And there were about 2, maybe 3 in our proposal. So what ended up being in the master plan did not reflect the housing that was actually in the charrettes designs by the people that were there. As I said, we were one of the few that actually had a little bit of mixture. Everybody else was single family. And then we had the ones who wanted it to be a recreational facility. So what went in the master plan then came up with something more intense than what was shown in the charrette. And it was about 70 units proposed. So in order to modify and make sure that what goes in there actually reflects what the community wanted, what was in the master plan, what you're hearing people say, and what's surrounding it, really would be more appropriate not to be the RM1. I'd also like to talk about Everett Park. In their first PUD that they came through, the initial design of the phase 1, it did include duplexes. But they came back and said, you know, those duplexes aren't selling. We want to go to all single family, and you approved that. Now they're coming back to you again to do another proposal for changing the next phase of the PUD. And unfortunately, I didn't have time to study that, but I have an inkling that what it is to eliminate all the duplexes and go to single-family homes. So that's telling you what's wanted. I know we would like to have more affordable housing here, and that's why I'm suggesting consider R2, which would allow more flexibility, a little greater density, without being overwhelming, which is what will happen with RM1, because there's no density limits on that, and that's what's of great concern to everybody probably sitting out here. It's not the desire to not have affordable housing. It's to have owner-occupied, moderate housing. And I realize it's funding is difficult to do, but there are proposals perhaps coming down the line now that would allow a greater flexibility and allow something that's much more appropriate to the area to go in there. The other thing to note is when it goes to RM1, yes, you can have single-family homes, you can have two-family homes, you can have multifamily homes. You also can have mobile home parks by special use. So keep in mind what RM1 allows, all the uses that could be allowed, because that's what you're looking at tonight. Not a proposal that hasn't come up yet, but everything that can go on that property right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing nobody else that wants to speak this evening, I'll entertain a motion to postpone this public hearing until the August 8th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we hold the public hearing open for 229 Elkenberg until the end of our August 11th meeting.
8th.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any other?
Yeah,
It's the 5th.
I told you it was 8th.
Thank you.
We may have found a lot of holes in our plan.
Yes, it's the 5th. Who was it that told me the 8th at the beginning of the meeting?
Guilty.
We'll be here for both of them.
So,
My motion is August 5th.
5th, and there was a prior motion that had a date on it too, so
Change that.
please change that. Okay. Now that that's corrected, it's been moved and supported. Any other discussion to?
I guess my only discussion is I think we're doing this to assist from individuals who have reached out to us, but not necessarily a requirement, because we could have done this tonight.
Yes.
But I think we're, keeping this open at the request of staff to, assist in
More
the
public
outreach.
input.
For the public output.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, prior to leaving this item, is there any discussion we want to do? And maybe Clark, maybe give us just a real brief 1 or 2 minute
Oh, I can't do 1 or 2 minutes.
how city council,
I would need a little thing up
why
there.
the request is
Okay.
for RM1.
I think the RM1 is going to give us the most flexibility within a project. One of the things that the city is looking for, and I think a good example is that is a couple of current projects. And then if we look at a dense project, we just had a project completed recently within the city, 18 units and 0.3 acres. I mean, that's fairly dense. I think we're in the 40 and 50 unit per acre density of an apartment complex downtown. And that mixed use ended up, selling out at the upper end of some finances. Recently, another individual that also came to the city. Once again, we were able to help out that project. They're currently in the renting stage. They've already got renters in there. That project price point went up 30 to 40% more than what was presented to council of where that would be. If we're going to try to find some type of way to bring housing, to bring individuals back at something more affordable, the city's going to have to take control of a piece of property. We have the opportunity when we got the Overton property to make that happen. The big need coming out of the master plan and what we heard from many of the industry in town, including our mayor, who typically still visits anywhere from 4 to 12 businesses a month and goes on site visits. Here's time and time again, where can our workers find a place to live within the city limits or close to the city limits even? It's getting tougher and tougher. So we've got a piece of property that we can look at for housing. Currently, that piece of property is light industrial. So we could try to find a factory to go in next to that neighborhood. But all the factories have left, and we've seen the success of some of these either repurposed factory buildings, repurposed school buildings, or land that once was factory and is now housing as a solution. So looking at RM1, even looking at some of the charrettes, that we were on, and if you look at the master plan, there were mixed use types of housing on this property as a potential vision. And this gives us an opportunity to look at that, whether they're duplexes, 4 quads, or some type of apartment, or even some townhomes. They looked at a mixed within this property to bring both home ownership and home rental or housing to South Haven. And I think that's the goal. It gives us this most opportunity to do that, and we look at the properties to the west and to the south. They're currently RM1. So, if you look at it, half of the property next to this is going to be RM1, and it just seemed like a logical spot to start. And that was 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on it just for a moment. Sure. I agree with everything Clark said. For those who are concerned about the direction this is going, you'd do well to look at the elected city officials, the city councils. This is their number one priority, and it's been their highest priority for years. And trying to figure out a way to attract young people that can live here year-round is their highest priority. We've elected them to do this, and this is a unique opportunity in that the city is a partner in it. It's different from the property to the south. That's what I would like to say about that. The traffic, again, I have a friend on St. Joseph that I go over and walk their dog. For most of the year, 7 to 8 months of the year, you can walk St. Joseph right down the middle of the street and not have to move for a car. There's nobody on that street. And I've done it many, many times. The last thing I want to talk about is Brownfield. I did some homework on it today. Many people, like I did, misunderstand the word Brownfield as a negative thing. It's a tool that was developed by the state of Michigan to encourage developers, in particular redevelopers, to go into a property whose history is either unknown or questionable, so that when they start getting into it, if they find something unknown, it's sort of a guarantor that they can proceed, clean up the site, give them all kinds of resources. It's not a negative thing. When property is redeveloped in brownfields, the surrounding property usually increases in value. So it's not a negative thing to have a piece of property near you that's brownfield. So I own a former brownfield property, and it has increased in value, as has the property around it. And that's all I have.
Okay.
I'll add my support of what Clark said as well. This isn't a new process. We've been at this for years, collecting data, putting together the vision. And of course, there's going to be conflicting priorities and conflicting choices in that vision, because we're a very diverse community, a diverse city. But one of the things that was clear in the last master plan is that we needed affordable housing in this city. Now, like it or not, no one solved the problem of how you get affordable housing without high density. I agree with the people that say, oh, they should have single-family residences. They should. They should also make $100,000 a year, but they're making $28,000 a year. And they are citizens of the city, or have been forced to leave the city. They were longtime citizens of the city, because even though they might be a teacher here, they might be a police officer, they can't afford to live here. There are engineers in our maintenance department that are living in Allegan because they cannot afford to live in the city that they serve. So this is not the end of the process, but there's going to be a lot of discussion, and I, for one, am going to stay vigilant in the work that we did to keep that priority of affordable housing in the city. We talk about the character of a neighborhood. I suggest you stand at the property there and look east rather than look west. The neighborhood to the east is where I live. Those are populated by people that used to work in our manufacturing buildings. Those are populated by people that worked in that Overton factory when it was there. They have a right to stay here. They have a right for their children to aspire to live in that same neighborhood. But they can't at the price points that we've built. There's going to be a lot of things we debate. I would suggest that we look at density as population per geographic unit, not units. On traffic, have you not been in any of our neighborhoods this summer? I have a friend who's a builder who just had to tell a resident that he can't start his house for him this summer because he can't get his equipment down the streets because there's too many cars on the street. And there's no place for him to put his equipment to build this person's new house. So I must say, and I'm being a little bit more honest than I care to be, I must say, when I look around at the objections I hear, have we not noticed how that's happened everywhere else in the city? And what's the distinction for this property? RM1's not, I've had discussions with my fellow commissioners. I understand that sooner or later, my neighborhood's probably going to have duplexes in it. If we're going to bring the price point down, that's going to attract the talent we need to bring employers back to the city. I'm not pleased with that. But I'm also not pleased with the cottage hotel that's next to my house. But that's land use decisions we make. At least with this one, there is some deliberation. I would encourage those of you that are coming to this game late to dive into the history. The Schrotts were wonderful, and I would beg to differ on one thing. What came out in the master plan was by process. I was in the Schrott, by the way. It was not my first choice for that property. I wanted a boys' club, girls' club there, a YMCA. I wanted something for our youth in this town. I lost. We'll get it somewhere else. But what ended up in the master plan was when they put together all the wants and needs of the Schrotts and came up with the one with the highest or the highest number of highest supporting vote, if you will. So it wasn't just by happenstance that somebody somewhere said, oh, let's put that one in the master plan. No. That was the end result of the 3 separate Schrotts that we did. As I said, I took some of your minutes, Clark. Sorry about that. But
Nope, that's okay.
But the whole point of my discussion is tonight is about gaining input on the rezoning. It's not about Overton. Who knows who's going to develop that? Maybe we should put a villa, a whole bunch of tiny houses in there. That might work. You know, who knows? Who knows? But the decision to talk about RM1 wasn't just because we wanted to build an apartment building. There is method to the madness, and we'll continue to debate it until we get there. Thanks, Tim.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm going to speak to my fellow commissioners up here.
Okay.
We're citizen planners, and planning has a connotation of looking ahead. And we've already identified we have a problem right now with affordable housing. And I think we can all pretty much see that that's not going to get any better. If we always do what we've always done, we're going to always have what we have right now.
Okay.
I echo everyone. You guys, yeah, I agree completely. And the one thing I really want to emphasize is that because the city has a chance to be a partner in this, to change the zoning is an opportunity, not a negative. And we've got to remember that we get a chance. We get a little more input than we usually do. So please don't forget that.
And also to add to that too, we'll have another opportunity when the site plan comes. I know many people are concerned about density, over density. I am as well. However, I think we have an opportunity to speak to that in particular once a site plan comes forward.
Well, one of the things I want to speak to is, I think Todd mentioned it about businesses having to go, their employees having to go to other cities to live. I can speak to that intimately at the Boys and Girls Club. We attracted someone from South Dakota who lives in Holland because she could not afford to live here. And we almost lost an excellent candidate because of that. So being able to find affordable housing for young professionals is absolutely important to the city's growth and the city's ability to bring young families to town to create the kind of community that we all want. And that needs to happen, and I think the RM1 is a great place to start with this particular property.
Okay.
One more comment.
Okay.
It relates to what Elijah just said. Susan has had South Haven Family Practice for 35 years. We found a employee list from 20 years ago. We had 22 full-time employees. 14 of them lived in the city of South Haven. Currently, one lives in the city of South Haven. All those jobs are still there, but nurses, midwives, family practitioners, they're not living in South Haven anymore. They're being pushed out by a whole bunch of forces outside of their control. But it was startling to us to find out that Susan is the only full-time employee at her business that can still live in South Haven.
May I ask a question of clarification from Brad and Travis and possibly Nick? I read the one line in the master plan that says the Overton site is currently zoned 1 light industrial. If the city maintains control of the property, they may develop it regardless of zoning, since municipalities are not required to comply with their own zoning ordinance as established by Michigan case law. So not that we would. I mean, the better way to do, because our charter also addresses that there's a proper process we might like to. Michigan case law, as I read it, says we're not required to. If the city owns that property and wants it RM1, they don't need to have a zoning hearing. It's theirs to do. So for all that doubt the integrity of the city government, I think the fact that we are going through this as an option is to show that we are interested in input and are interested in putting together the best solution.
That's correct. The statement in the master plan is correct.
Heavy-handed zoning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody else? All right, I think everybody's had a chance to speak, and I guess I should say a few words. Mike, you had mentioned the master plan, and as we know, having worked on the master plan, it's always said that it's just good to have these ideas, but they're not set in stone. So it's a living type of document, and our particular master plan does call for this area of town with all the light industrial to be moved towards the residential realm. And for one, that's in a way unfortunate because we're losing this zoned land for possible future manufacturers or some type of business. So, and we don't readily replace that because we have limited land here in South Haven. With that said, all the other properties have been rezoned in one way, shape, or another, some type of residential. So this, I believe, in that area is the last chunk left of light industrial, is it not, Travis? Especially with the 879 rezoning?
Assuming that that goes, if it were to be approved by the city council, yes, that would leave this as the lone industrial site.
So with that said, I assume anybody that lives in that area would like this not to be light industrial anymore because it could have a parking lot and trucks and lights and parking lots, that kind of thing. So I assume, one, we need to rezone it to something other than L1. And then, like I think John Joseph said, it could be R1A, could be R1B, and nobody's even talked about it being maybe a business district. That's a possibility too. But in this case, the city council has made a priority out of developing this piece of property for residential for a lot of the reasons Clark had said. So that's why the RM1 is before us and not R1A, R1B, or some other type of zoning in town. And that's where we're at. So this commission needs to consider the comments that were received tonight and with the letters and with the request that's being made by city council. So when we come back to the next meeting, whether you're willing to let it become RM1. So I think that's probably a good summary. All right, we'll move on to item 9 now, which is 270 Baseline Road Preliminary Review.
So this is an item that in pieces has been before the Planning Commission here this past 6 or 7 months. This proposal is being made by the property owner, Mr. Joe Ashen. He is looking to potentially develop this property into a development that will support a yurt or a yurt-type structure. Currently, as we've discussed before, we don't have any kind of a definition in the zoning ordinance for a structure of this nature or development of this type. And then by extension, we also don't have it listed as an approved use in the zoning district that he resides in. And so that's where we're at with this item. At last month's meeting, Mr. Ashen addressed the council or the commission during the public comment portion of the meeting. And was directed to bring back a site plan that would be ready for review. Based on the documents that he's provided enough now to at least go through a preliminary site plan review. However, that being said, by the very nature of the fact that we don't have a definition for these structures, nor is it an approved use right now, we really can't take it through a full site plan review process until that was true. So what's before you tonight is what he's submitted. He's also here to speak about it, and then it'll be up to the Planning Commission to decide, is this type of development something that you'd like to see in the city? If it is, then staff will be looking to get direction then to amend the ordinance or to bring forth draft amendments that would achieve that goal. If the Planning Commission were to decide otherwise, right now it's not a defined use and it's not an approved use in that district, and that would be where that would be left. So Mr. Ashen is here tonight to speak to the Planning Commission and to answer any questions that they might have. Additionally, I want to mention that Mr. Ashen did today send over a PowerPoint slideshow that will be left to the Planning Commission to decide whether that if you want him to place that on the screen, we can place that on the screen. So, but I'll leave that to the planning commission to decide.
All right, now, do the commissioners have any questions for staff at this time? If not, I'll ask Travis to set up the AV, and Mr. Ashen can talk about his proposal. Yes?
I have a question regarding staff's recommendations. The two recommendations are to work on ordinance language that defines the development structures being proposed and includes a new definition as an approved use in the R2 residential district. And the second recommendation, B, is to deny the proposed development citing, these are choices, sorry, to deny the proposed development citing its absence from the list of approved uses in the R2 residential district. Last month, I sent an email to you and copied staff asking if we could do a preliminary site plan review, where there's even a possibility of doing a pre-purchase site plan review to see if something that's outside of the zoning district can, it has the support of the city. Before we go into a slideshow, we were asked, I think back in December or January, for the sense of the commission at that time, whether or not we should encourage Mr. Ashen to move forward. And I think that was overwhelmingly negative. You'd have to go back.
No, I would disagree with you in why we're where we're at now. And I tried to, as you know, I tried to jump out ahead on this one with this board. And the board overwhelmingly said, we don't want to look at it unless it's an official submittal.
Yeah.
And this is an official submittal.
Okay.
Okay?
I've mentioned this to staff and I think to you, there seems to me there's two questions. One is, is the commission interested in recommending a rezone? And the second would be, after that, is a yurt or some structure like that an allowable use? I don't think we can get to B unless we have A. I might be wrong. That we have to, can it be rezoned for this purpose? And if so, it's sort of like the rezoning where we just opened the public hearing on. We're not going to talk about a site plan review until we rezone the property. It seems to me, is this commission interested in recommending this rezone? If not, why are we going to talk about what's going on to it?
Well, I don't speak for the rest of the commissioners, but for myself, we don't have a yurt defined in our code, okay? And I'm sure I'm not alone when I say this. You see across the nation, yurts becoming more and more popular, and, you know, by definition, it's more environmentally sustainable, and, you know, all the arguments that go with that. So a lot of times you see these in rural areas, like probably a little more predominant in rural areas, but there are some cases where they are in city limits. And so I think, you know, thanks to to Joe here, that we do have the opportunity to really consider this. And is it something the city would allow or wouldn't allow? And it'll be a good discussion, I think.
If I might, Tim, too, I agree. I'm looking forward to the discussion, because for me, the missing piece is what I believe I heard Travis address is, what is a yurt? I mean, when you do, yeah, I didn't mean to steal your line, Joe, but if you look around and doing the research, some municipality says, as you put insulation in it, it's a permanent structure. Others say, no, it's more a tent. We haven't gone that step to define what it is, because if it's a permanent structure, that changes everything for Joe. All he needs to do is apply for short-term rental permits and do what he wants. But we haven't defined what it is yet as a city, and that's the discussion.
Yeah. We don't have it,
We don't know
period.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
How to approve something we don't know.
Yep. So, anybody else, anything for staff? Okay. So with that, we'll let Joe tell us about his proposal.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it a lot. And, you know, just to touch base on the last thing about the low-income housing, I didn't realize South Haven had such an issue with low-income housing. And, I mean, with affordable housing, I should say. And that probably explains, I have 10 acres in the city limits. And I've had developers come knocking on my door, want to put in Section 8 housing. And, but they tell me they got to chop all the trees down to do it, so I say, well, we can't do it. But my idea, I've owned this property for several years. I grew up adjacent to this property. And basically, next slide, please. What is a yurt? That was a question that you asked me when I was here last time. You don't know what a yurt is. Well, let's see if we can explain it. Next, a yurt. What's going on here? Well, you know. Oh, I'll tell you what a yurt is not. It's not an Indian teepee. Next. It's not a tiny house. Next. It's not a Bedouin tent. By the way, that's a picture from 1925 in the Negev Desert. That's an actual picture of a Bedouin tent. Next. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a tent. It's not a...
Take it a little closer.
Okay.
There you go.
It's not a camping tent. Next. A yurt is. That's what a yurt is right there. Next. There's another yurt. As you can see, the concept is having something, it's a structure, and I'll get into that more. But this actually looks like my property on the north side. It's heavily wooded with a ravine with a stream going through it. Next, please. There's a yurt built over somewhere in Colorado. Next, please. There's a couple yurts in the woods. Next, please. The interiors. Now, this is really something nice. Next. Full kitchen. Now, they can be built up, they can be built very simple. I've seen them in campgrounds where they're very simple with bunk beds. I've seen them looking like this. The kind of clientele that I'm reaching out to are people that want to come to South Haven and not drink beer all night and scream and holler. They're looking for a quiet place. They're bicycle riders, they're kayakers, they're canoers, people go to the beach. I have a friend who teaches the Art Institute in Chicago. He comes out to my property every fall and paints. He goes back with an easel on a ravine and he paints. He said, this is incredible. Next, please. Next, please. Just giving you some quick pictures. A bathroom. Next, please. Another picture of bathroom. Next. A living room. Now, I'm not saying that mine is going to be this luxe. That's not what I want. I want it more basic, cabiny, but nice. Next. Very nice. You see next. Next. Now, you see the skylight? See the skylight? Isn't that beautiful? Each one will have a skylight. Next. Another bedroom. I didn't know. I didn't realize it had this many in there. Next. Next. Now, the proposal, go ahead one. My property is this property highlighted in yellow. Okay? As you can see, I'm just a block from the lake. It's heavily wooded. That is an unusual thing to have in the middle of South Haven. And so I have a very unique property. It's something worth saving, and I'd like to keep it open like that. There is up in the upper right-hand corner is not included. It was a part of the Russin estate. It's owned by Roger and Kathy Russin, who are my neighbors. I live in the other corner of the upper left-hand corner. I have a house there. Part of what's going on here is discussion with them to make sure that what I'm putting in is something that they have buy-in. Okay, so that's why this plan is going to change in a certain way that it's something they can live with. That's very important for me. Next, this might be kind of hard to look at. This is the engineering drawing. So I'll try my best to. I didn't realize it was going to be this far away from us. As you can see.
Do you have the pointer for him?
Pardon?
No? Okay.
Can you make that any bigger?
Is there a pointer down in the bottom of the podium?
Is there a pointer?
A little laser?
We have a laser pointer,
Oh, wow.
I believe.
before. I never used one of those.
I don't know if we have the pointer at an airplane.
We don't have a pointer. Okay, well, I'm sorry. If you, up at the top, a yardstick or something, that's Baseline Road at the top, okay? Now, the road coming in at the, you see there's a road that goes into it, it's a parking lot. This is cars will be parked on this side. The green, there's gonna be permaculture gardening spots, organic permaculture gardening. That big green spot and that big green spot on the other side. Now, in the middle of it, between those two big greens, that's the ravine with the stream in it, okay? The road on this side, you see come in with the turnaround, that's for the fire department, the emergency vehicles. That road is not going to be used. That road will have a gate. Only the fire department and emergency service will have access to that road.
Does that road run through the Russin
I
property?
was going to ask that.
Does that
I have
road,
an easement through there,
you have an easement?
yeah. But I'm not using it to bring traffic in.
Okay.
The guests, people coming to the yurts, will come down this road on this side, park their car there. And then there's a bridge, there will be a bridge that goes across the ravine right there. Now, you see where it says Future Events Center? That might be a meeting center, we're not sure. And then there is a bridge there. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm talking about? Okay. People will walk or take a golf cart to their yurt. There will be no cars on this side at all. No cars. And the yurts are these kind of pinkish, reddish circles, and they'll be along the ravines. They will be along the edge of the ravine, positioned in such a way there will be no large trees chopped down. I had a landscape architect come in there and check out everything and figure out how to place yurts without chopping down a tree, A. And B, I guess I'm a tree hugger, and B, they will be positioned in such a way that there'll be privacy for each yurt. You won't be looking at your neighbor. Now, this could change because I may not even develop that side of the property behind the Russin's house and just develop this side in a smaller way. But what I'm figuring out now is, can I even do the yurt project in South Haven? See? So this is fluid right now. A lot depends on what agreements I come with the Russin family and to make sure that they're okay with what I'm doing. So I told them that I'm willing to put this in any way that's going to be comfortable for them. So my vision is to have gardens and trails through the woods, bridges across the stream, and there will be no TVs in the yurts. There'll be quiet hours. That's the kind of place I want to build. Let me show you a picture. Next, please. That is an architectural rendering of the yurt. Now, the yurt comes in a kit form. It's the blue thing right there. I'm adding a front porch and a rear screened-in porch. The rear screened-in porch will be over the ravine, or close to the ravine. So you will have, in the yurt, there'll be the kitchen and the bedroom and everything. And then the next slide, please. So this is looking at it from the top. Here's the front porch right there, the entranceway. Here's the interior of the yurt. I just set it up as one big room in this one. A bed, a kitchen, chairs. Here is the outdoor screened-in porch. We have mosquitoes here in South Haven. And this is the bathroom. There'll be a shower, toilet, everything for sinks, the whole deal for the bathroom. And the kitchen. Each yurt, the yurt, since I'm in the city limits, they're on city water and city sewage and city electricity. I have, in the engineering plans, it shows where all the lines go and the pipes go, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically looking at it from the top. I can't remember what my next thing is. Could you flip it? That's the end. I thought I had something else. So go back to the engineering plan. Go back right there. Let me just see if I have anything I want to add to that really quickly. We explained what a yurt is not, aerial view, engineering drawing, I explained the parking, et cetera, architecture drawing. So is there any questions on this? Because I know I've given you a fast rundown of it, and what I'm just trying to find out tonight, is there would it be something that the city would think, well, this could be interesting to do? And what I'm trying to do is work hand in hand with the city, not be an adversarial, say, look, this is something I want to do, I think it'd be great. What does the city think about it? Can we work something out? I know that right now, 4 miles from this place, out in the country, there's a place called The Fields. It rents out tents, a tent. Now, it's very nice. It's a very nice place. And people, they pay $335 a night, and they're full all summer. And there's people that come out from the city, and they want to be in a quiet place. And that's what I'm building, a quiet, quiet place.
Does the property run north or south of Baseline?
The property runs south of Baseline Road. The property is in the city limits.
And are you putting a road in somewhere?
There'll be a road. There'll be a road, yes. There's 2 roads. There's a road that runs right here on the west side of the property.
Where would that road be? I know it's off Baseline, but where would it be?
Where would it be?
I'm trying to, is it there already? It's not there.
Hey, Joe,
No.
if you'd come back to the podium, please.
I'm sorry.
And we're going to have the commission ask some questions,
Okay.
and then I will let the public come up and ask a few questions.
All right, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay.
What are your
So who has questions?
I actually have a question of you, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Being the resident historian, looking back at the history of South Haven, have we had resorts within the city limits before? I know that Sleepy Hollow was beyond the city limits, but was Fiddleman's within the city limits?
No, Fiddleman's was not.
I think
Did
I
we-
can answer that question. I grew up here. My family had
I
one
know,
of the
but-
largest resorts. Oh, I
Yeah.
saw you didn't do.
That is true. And there still are some resorts on the north side. The buildings still remain, you know.
Within
you
the
see
city
small-
limits.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah, there were a lot of resorts.
but there's still some that are, the buildings are still there, the
Buildings, yeah.
outbuildings, yeah. Any other questions? I'm sure there's got to be a few.
Are your yurts going to be, are you going to use those year-round?
They're capable of being used year-round. They're weatherproof and everything. And I was going to have potbelly stoves put in them, probably electric ones or gas ones, so people will be starting fires. Probably not. I'm thinking of doing a 5 or 6 month season.
Okay. So would these structures be considered permanent or temporary then?
Permanent.
Permanent structures that you could not live in the winter in?
Oh, you could
As
live
the
in-
way they're set up, the way you would be setting them up?
No, you could live in them in the winter, yes, but I won't stay open all winter. I mean, I'm thinking of, unless somebody wanted to rent one for the winter, but,
So are the walls and the ceiling fabric?
yeah, there's a lattice work. I think I sent everybody a brochure on it. There's a base, there's a platform, and on top of that, the yurt kit goes. You can put it up in about 3 days. And they're based on the old concept of Mongolian yurt, you know, the Mongolian yurts. And there's a lattice work that is the structure, and it's very strong, and it has guy wires and stuff. And the outer coating is some kind of a fabric, some kind of high-tech fabric that has a 15, 20, 25-year life
Okay.
before you replace it.
Travis, could you go to the next slide? So this one, for me, this is one that kind of surprised me. It wasn't a complete 100% yurt development. I knew there'd be a deck, but I didn't realize there'd be a tiny house attached.
Tiny house?
Well, it's a screened-in porch and a bathroom under a roof, not look, is that a shingled roof?
No, that's not, on the
On the
add-on?
right side?
I don't know what kind of roof we're gonna put on it yet, maybe, but I mean, I built them, I wanted to have
So it's kind of a combination what you're proposing.
no,
It's
I
a-
wouldn't call it a tiny house.
Look at
The reason I'm having,
next
the
slide or
reason I'm
two.
having a bathroom off the deck It just seemed like a logical place. That could change.
Mhm.
But I thought, it's one unit. See, the yurt is about a little under 500 square feet itself, 452 or 82. The deck would probably be maybe anywhere from 250 to 350. I'm not sure yet. And it would have an entrance. It would, have a full bath.
Right.
It's kind of rustic living, and it'll be kind of quiet. The idea, I want to have a quiet nature place, not all manicured. I have fox living on my property. I've had on my game camera, I got a picture of a coyote one night. I have deer. I have 2 wild turkeys and everything. And so I want to incorporate this into the land without doing anything to, I don't want to accommodate the land to fit the structures. I want to accommodate the structures to fit the land, unlike what we've seen a lot happen in South Haven.
I have a question, and it's just a bit of a history. Maybe you guys can help me remember. I thought we got a letter from the Russins not supporting this project. Is that correct? Or am I dreaming this?
We've gotten
Because-
so many letters, and it's
Yes.
blueberry season, I forget myself.
Okay, all right. Well,
I-
maybe.
I don't remember one from them.
Okay, well, maybe.
I do remember
Okay.
correspondence from the Russins, not in support yet, but if
So-
you've got
But that was
something
months ago.
different,
Well, I've been talking to them, and I've made it clear to them that I would not build anything that they weren't in sync with. And if that means making it a much smaller type of development, that's what I'll do.
okay. So we don't have some documentation of support from the Russins.
Well,
I was got a yes or no question, so we don't really have support from the Russins yet.
okay.
Okay.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Does Mr. Ashen get copies of the emails that we've been getting, particularly the last 48 hours?
I can send them, I can forward them to him.
That would be a good idea.
And then I'd also like to mention why we're thinking about this. He does have 10 acres, which is unique within the city limits. It is wooded, and, his other option would be to develop it as a standard lot size and tear all the trees down. So they could lose the wooded area. So just things to think about.
Yep. Again, what I think it's been clarified to me, I think there's 2 issues in my mind going on. First of all is, do we allow a resort in the city? And that's been answered. The precedent is yes. It's an allowed use in the city. We've done it before. Then the second thing is around what kind of structures are in there. So, my eyes have been opened a little bit at this meeting compared to what before. And I believe, Joe, if I recall correctly, that in your original communication with us, you made a statement that you would not proceed without the consent of your neighbors.
The Russins, yes. Yes, I made that clear to them.
Oh, you also made it clear to us in your presentation.
Well, that's just how I feel about it. And even though I can,
Right.
just like you guys,
Mhm.
the city does that, but I won't. And I've made that clear to them.
Yes.
That if I can't come up with something that they're okay with, then I won't now. And they've said, well, we don't mind what you do behind your house, but we're reluctant to have things on it. I could do something else. I want to keep the property as a nature.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's why I haven't made a deal with one of these low-income Section 8 people who want to come in and, and so, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I didn't necessarily, I think it's a great project in itself. I don't think it's the right project for within the city limits, but, if this were on the other side of Baseline, I think it's a great place. I would potentially look at staying at a place like this. Glamping, camping type resort. I'm just not sure within the city limits, this is the right type of project, and/or even if we're ready for yurts yet.
Why
with-
isn't the right thing for in the city limits? What difference does it make? I have 10 acres of wooded land, virgin woods, part of it. Part of it was farmed on, okay? I have trees in there that are 200 and 300. I've had a tree guy come and say, some of these trees are probably 300 years old, okay? I have redwood trees that were planted by Mr. Russin 75 years ago. Out of the 45 he planted, 3 have survived, and 1 is huge. It's amazing.
And I'm not saying it's not a beautiful piece of property. I just don't think a glamping.
No, it's not
yurt-
glamping. It's not glamping.
A yurt resort, because that's what it would be, a yurt resort, is necessarily what we would need within the city limits. That's all.
Hey, Travis, do you have the zoning map for this project?
Mr. Chairman, while he's looking that up, Mike just said something about, we have Victoria Resort Bed and Breakfast. I was trying to think of other ones where there was scattered cottages within. Is it an allowed use? I mean, I've always understood since it was introduced that this
That's the
was not a-
problem we have right now. It's not defined one way or the other. So that's why we need to look at this.
Yeah, I believe that and again, I'm not good at directions here, but isn't it on Brockway or Park? There is a piece of property that has a large main building and has had several small cottages. That was a resort.
You think about Victoria?
Brockway.
Victoria?
Is that
It's on
Victoria?
Oak, it's on Oak
Is that
Street.
Oak Street, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it has about probably 7 or 8 buildings on it in the main buildings.
So
Mr. Ashen, I drove by, of course, the area, but I was unable to tell by looking from where I was if that's much of a marshland that you have there.
I'm sorry,
Is there
say that?
much marsh that you
Marsh?
have, yes, on your property?
Where's my, well, not really. In the ravine, down at the bottom, I have a ravine. It's very it's very dry on both sides. The ravine is, you could call it maybe a wetland, a protected area. I'm not going to touch that at all. I'm not going to do anything where there's any wetland or marsh. I want to preserve that.
Yeah, so if you look at this zoning map, Mr. Ashen's properties where it says right in the middle, basically, right underneath Baseline Road. To the right is Woodland Harbor, which is a real high-density PUD. That's at R2. And then the RM1, there's an apartment complex there, big parking lot. And then you have the R1B. Like North Side Estate condos, that used to be the Haran Ranch, I believe. And the Preserve at Woodland Harbor, that was an orchard. So that was all farmland except for Mr. Ashen's woodlot, basically, so. So that's how the zoning is developed over time, and property uses have changed. So, any other questions for Mr. Ashen or staff?
I'm just looking at the map. That's the river that splits there, right?
It's a creek.
Creek. I'm looking at, okay, so there's the preserves, and we back up against the preserves?
To the east.
Yep. Okay. Yep, got it.
Where you see 700, there's a 700 on it, and
Yes.
there's a river, well, it's a stream coming down, and there's another stream. So my property is outlined by the black to the right, and to the white line, and to black at the bottom, and the white
Yes.
line to the left between the RM1, the brown property. Yeah.
And there's a lot of elevation change in there, I believe.
Yeah, well, there is. That's what makes it so interesting.
What's typical in the RM1, which would be to you, looking at the screen, to the left on the screen, what kind of properties are in there? What?
RM1 is Maple Glen?
Yeah, Maple Glen Apartments.
Yep.
And then on the other side,
in
there's a nursing home.
Nursing home, yeah.
Former nursing home, yeah.
Mhm.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
I only have a comment. Mr. Ashton, I really like your project. I like the idea of yurts. I've stayed in yurts. They're really awesome. However, given our discussion earlier in the day regarding moderate income homes, and I'm just wondering if this is the best use for the city, for the property. That although I do like your project, I guess I would say that I would like to have it at another place rather than in the city.
Well, you know, I could develop low-income housing there, Section 8 housing. My CPA has advised me to do that. And I said, well, I'll make a lot of people angry if I do that, because I'm going to put 18 yurts in, and people are upset over that. They're saying it's going to crowd the beach, traffic. Well, if I put 100 units in there for low-income housing, I said, that's really going to make people angry. He said, so move to Europe. You love the south of France. And I said, that's not a bad idea. And so the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is I want to preserve the land. I want to preserve that property and the trees. And I can't understand why anybody would be fighting it. I can't understand why anybody. There's some woman going around North Shore Drive with a pad of paper with getting people. I get calls every day from, everybody knows me. I grew up in South Haven. Somebody's knocking on our door and they're saying you're going to build a campground. And I was in front of my house on Baseline Road. This is 4 or 5 months ago, and some lady I know who lives up the street on the Columbine, who walks her dog. She said, Joe, you know what they're going to do behind your house? She didn't know I own all that property. She didn't know who I am. I says, no, they're going to build a campground with 50 units in it. I said, really? And the next time I saw her, I said, you know what they're going to do? I heard they're going to be 100 units. Where that came from, I don't know. I'm going to put 18 yurts on that property, maximum. I'm not going to crowd it. It's not going to be a transit place where people come and camp, pick up their tent and leave. It's going to cost $400, $500 a night to stay there. It's going to be really nice. So I can't understand why anybody would be against it. Yes, could it be in the country? Yes, but that property is there. And if we put low-income housing there, all those trees will be gone. Where are all the birds going to go? I got birds you wouldn't believe. I got birds I've never seen in my life living in that woods, you know?
So, Mr. Ashton, I just a point of clarification. I have heard everything from 13 to 18 to 20 to 25 is what is actually in our preliminary review of how many yurts you're going to do. So
Right.
I think you need to, clarify that with this group, because it makes a difference. I also agree with Janice. Great project.
Thank you.
Wrong location. Just doesn't fit well. If you were just the other side of Baseline Road, I'd come out there and stay. But it's just not in the right location, so.
But what do you
But
want me
thank
to-
you again for putting together the site plan, because now it's.
So what do you suggest I do with it?
Well, it's yours to do what you want to do with it. You just came to us with a suggestion, and my idea is to comment on the suggestion, so that's all I can comment on.
All right, okay.
We're not in decision-making mode tonight, though, correct?
In a way, we are. You can see what the recommendations are on page 43 of your agenda. And you know, the last meeting, we had sample language from, Brad, what was the name of the town?
It was Keweenaw County.
Keweenaw, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the Keweenaw language as a starter. So the idea would be to say, yeah, we're interested in having this project move forward, or not.
Can we do that, though, without the definition?
Well,
One of the recommendations is to instruct staff to draft an ordinance language which defines the developments like structures being proposed and include that new definition as an approved use within an R2 residential district, which one of the suggestions would be to look at and saying, direct staff to put together an ordinance to be able to allow anybody in any R2 within the city to install a yurt.
Well,
Yeah, that, I mean, that's when you look at the
Basically, that's it.
recommendations, because he's an R2, he wants to put in yurts. So, seeing that we don't have that currently now as an ordinance, it's not an approved structure, that's one of the opportunities we could do, or we could just deny the proposal development, citing the absence of a list of approved uses in an R2 residential district.
But it's not listed specifically.
It's not listed specifically.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've been hearing is that it's a great proposal, but it's in the wrong place. And I don't see any of A or B addressing that. So the options that we have really are to hold the gentleman hostage, in my opinion. We either need to say A or B, because it's either in the wrong place or it isn't, and the objections I've heard aren't about if the structures are bad or if it's a bad plan or anything such as that. All I've heard is, it's not in the right place. And I don't think changing the ordinance is going to change that.
Well, keep in mind, we're not talking about a lot. This is 10 acres
I
of
get it.
land.
Of prime land.
Yeah,
Question?
yep.
I guess it might be for Mr. Ashen. I've been bothered by this since the beginning. I think if you came in, I'm not sure, maybe staff will correct me, and said, I'm going to build a classic Michigan cottage on this, 1,000 square foot each, 17 of them, is that what you're proposing? And just put that on there, is that an allowed use?
I think
If
that
it meets, each cottage meets the building code?
Cottages are defined in our zoning ordinance, but again, not in this district as a resort-style development. If somebody purchased the land itself and subdivided it and built cottages on each one, we would look at it as being basically just a home being built on a single parcel. But I believe as a resort style, if he went to cottages, like I said, cottages are defined, but still not in this sense, in this location or in this district.
yeah, I think-
Mr. Ashen, is that something you considered, building something that fits in the building code?
If possibly, yes. I mean, it's a thought. I would want to do it in such a way that I didn't destroy the property. And I understood that structures have to be of a certain size, or else they're not, I can't remember how many square feet they have to be. I think I looked into that. How many square feet they have to be?
So I believe a structure in the city, a housing unit has to be a minimum of 20-foot width for, I believe it's 67% of the length of the structure.
So how many square feet would that be?
I don't think there's a square footage requirement. It's just that it just has to be that 20-foot width. And then when you go 67% of the length, it has to maintain that 20-foot that far.
I have not given that a lot of thought. I thought that with the yurt thing, I spent a lot of time in California. I lived there for 35 years, and I'm out there for part of the year, and I see that they're very popular and they're very nice, and people are looking for something simple. They have a skylight, they sit outside, and a simple structure. In fact, what got me thinking about this was a couple years ago, I was in Colorado on business, and I read about a tiny house place outside of Boulder. I was in Grand Junction, Colorado, reading the paper before I went to bed, USA Today, and I thought, I should go look at that. So the next day, on my way to Denver to catch the plane, I pushed my flight back a day, and I went to this place, and I walked around and met two women who were staying in one of these tiny houses. I don't know why anybody would want to stay in a tiny house. So I asked them why they were there. And it was beautiful. It was on a little river. It was a beautiful area, and these cute little tiny houses. And they told me they had been roommates in college. They were good friends. One was a doctor. The other was a professor. One lived on the West Coast. One lived on the East Coast. And every couple of years, they'd get together and spend a week together. And I said, but why did you stay here? You could afford to stay in a nice hotel. They said, what we want to be outside. And all we wanted was a comfortable place, clean, comfortable, with a little kitchen and a hot shower. And I thought, that's what people come to, a lot of people come to South Haven would love to have something like that. A little base to stay at. That was very nice. So that was, then it led to the yurts. Thought about cottage, I have not really thought about that, no.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for him?
No, just again, absorbing everybody's comments. I got to say, I'm falling on the other line. I'm not opposed to it at all. I think, when I think about what might happen to that piece of pristine property if we don't develop it in a fashion that preserves its beauty, it's what we have. You know, if we pack it full of houses, you know, I just don't know. You know, I can't get my hands around the objections to it, in that we're not talking a huge complex here. We're not talking something in the line of sight, actually, of anybody. I mean, it's in the woods. It's back in the woods off Webster.
Yeah, nobody will see it.
It's, you know, as Larry said, we're citizen planners, and when I think about future land use, all you got to do is look around and see what's happened to all the empty lots in South Haven.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd damn sure rather have a yurt than another three-story condo, three-story cottage hotel. Three-story home, like the factory condos.
Well, I also know with the preserve at Woodland Harbor, for that PUD, a good chunk of that was required to stay in a natural state. And even though this map doesn't show it, there's another creek that goes off to the right and just above the R2 designation. So by his request, it's consistent with what's already in place with that PUD. I find it unique and very interesting idea, because just as you state, the alternative is lots and individual homes, you know, if he decides to go that route. So I'm interested in seeing it proceed further.
I'm interested in hearing from your neighbors and see where they're at on this.
Well,
You
I'll
know?
tell you who my neighbors are. I got the reserve on that side, and those houses are 8 feet apart, approximately. So I don't think they're oblivious to anything I'm going to build. And the other side, I have a low-income housing project. People living on top of each other. And that's exactly that's what developers want to grab that and turn it into what I have between me. So the only neighbor I'm concerned about are the Russin family that own that property there. The rest of them, they're of no consequence. There's nobody that lives close to that property except the Russins.
That's whom I was speaking of, so.
Well, that's who
Yeah.
I've been very clear. I've been very
That's whom I was speaking of, so.
I've been very clear that I will not move forward in any way that they aren't on board with. That's just the way I am. I've known the Russin family all my life.
Yep.
You know, at least 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I'd just love to hear from them and see what they think before we get too far ahead of this. I'm just interested in hearing from them in an official capacity.
Okay. Well, we are closing in on 9 o'clock. We do have a couple more agenda items, so unless you have any more pertinent questions for Mr. Ashton, I'll have him go ahead and sit down, and then we'll take some public comment. Okay?
Thank you for your time.
I may ask you to come back up, but.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak? Say your name, address, 5 minutes.
I just had a couple of questions. Mary Cordova, 918 St. Joseph. And again, I'm new to these proceedings. So to be clear, before proceeding, you're getting the opinion of somebody else that just lives nearby, just one family, before you make an opinion on how to proceed with somebody's property that they own? And your preference is that they put in apartments because there's a housing need? But it's his property, right? The 10 acres is his property? It's not his property?
That's not what we're saying. That's not what I was saying at all.
Okay, well, that's the collective, like, what I'm hearing, and I'm just trying to be,
Yeah, no,
that's what I'm gathering is, like, because It's his property, and all he's trying to find out is whether or not a yurt is okay.
Right now, we're listening to everybody.
Right.
Okay.
It's open to everyone that's here. We're going to leave it open until
I'm
next
just
month.
giving you my feedback
So,
from being a
okay.
totally uninvolved party in the back of the room.
Let's
and
make that clear.
Then there's a.
We're not listening to just one party.
Okay, yeah, and
We're
then
listening
the
to
other thing
everyone.
that was abundantly clear is if his 10 acres was on the other side of Baseline Road, it would be okay? Like, why does that make a difference?
Because we wouldn't be discussing it, because that's no longer the city.
Exactly.
It's a
And it wouldn't be before our board
Right.
Yeah.
because,
it just
because it's
seems-
actually even in Allegan County.
Yeah.
So why would we discuss Allegan County non-city land use?
She understands.
I do understand that, but I'm like, just the way it's coming across is very,
Messy.
it's messy and it's,
Very messy.
I don't know how to describe it as other than he's coming up here trying to make an argument that you've already made a decision on many people, and he's working around it. I'm just giving my third-party voice. It's, that's it. That's my feedback.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I am Jerry Durkee. I live at 243 Webster Avenue, the last house in the R1 yellow, before you get to all the property we're talking about. My wife and I happen to own most of the old Ashen property on Webster Avenue. We still have 4 vacant lots and a house. We've sold two of the 7 lots that we originally purchased. I am not opposed to a yurt development. I am opposed to who develops it, and it's developed properly. I've lived at the end of Webster for quite a long time, 10 years. My wife's lived there 20. We've had to look at the Ashen property at the end of Webster. Come and look at it.
Let me interrupt you.
No, hey, please. Joe, Joe, please don't interrupt him while he's speaking. I'll give you a chance to come back up.
That's my brother.
On your property.
Does live on my property.
It's a dump. Let's
Oh.
put it that way. It is a dump. He's filling in his brother is filling in the ravine with trash. All you got to do is go look at it. I was not upset when I got here until I started hearing all his manure coming out of his mouth.
Well,
Anyway.
let's try to keep this civil.
That was being civil, Mr. Ashen. I have a few questions for the commission. Is this type of development in the city's master plan? Does it comply with the master plan at that property? Can somebody answer that? A staff member?
This type of development is non-existent right now. It's
Is
not
it-
defined in the master plan, it's not defined in the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
That's why we're here, is to see if
Is this
they would
type
like to
of
create
resort
something.
allowed in R2 zoning?
No, that's what we are requesting, to see what the council would like to do. If they would like to proceed trying to figure out how that would be fit into the city, or if they just say it does not belong in the city and therefore it ends.
So if a resort was to be built, it would have to be rezoned, is that correct?
No.
No?
No, there would just have to be there would have to be a new approved use added to the R2 zoning district to allow for it.
But this is a resort. Is a resort allowed in an R2 zoning district?
Not currently, no.
So it would have to be rezoned.
No, they would have to amend the zoning ordinance to allow for that use in the R2 zoning district.
A resort's a resort, no matter what kind of building it is that correct?
I'm not sure, I understand, but.
A resort is a resort, whether it's cabins, yurts, teepees.
But I think the point is, no, it would not need to be rezoned. They would need then to add that as an approved use into the current zoning district that it's in, versus rezoning it to a new district.
I think you got the cart before the horse here. You're entertaining projects, and I'm not opposed to a yurt project, Joe. I am not, because I think they're wonderful projects. I am concerned with the city following their master plan, zoning, and making sure whoever develops that land does it according to all the city ordinances, and that's what I'm mostly concerned about. And I have to admit, I'm concerned about Mr. Ashen developing it because of what I've had to see ever since I've lived on Webster Street. Whether it's his brother or not, I don't even think he should be living there. I don't think there's ever been a
Could
occupancy
you
permit.
keep your conversation germane to the
Sure.
preliminary review?
As everything I said.
Favor, not in favor?
I am not in favor of
Okay.
a yurt resort or any resort going on that property. Could I ask Mr. Ashman a question?
I just prefer that you don't disparage people.
And you allowed him to do it.
How did I allow him to do that?
It's obvious you're an ally of Mr. Ashman. I would like to
It's
ask-
not
I would-
obvious.
It is very
and
obvious.
It is not.
Mr. Ashman,
I don't wish to speak to you, sir.
I want to say something to Mr. Ashman then with my back turned.
Well,
He is very concerned.
that's
with
enough.
Preserving this land.
You can sit down.
If he's concerned with preserving this land, why is he?
Please sit
trying to
down.
put in
Please sit down.
apartment buildings?
Please sit down.
Well, thank you very much for letting a concerned citizen state his piece. I hope you got this all in the minutes.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come up.
My name is Greg Leonard. I live at 556 North Shore Drive. So I am a neighbor of this property. We abut Webster. That's our, essentially, there's a row of houses ahead of us, and then we see Webster. So a couple things, the slippery slope that you're going down with yurts. Yurts are considered temporary structures. They're not permanent. So for the city to approve yurts, the idea of preserving the area, nature area, that's great. But do you really want to have tents being built in your city? I've lived here for 20 years. So that's one question, I would say. The idea of maintaining those structures, think about that. Do you really want to, is the city going to take on the responsibility for how do you maintain these structures? You're going to hook up sewer, electricity, water, and are they built on decks? So, I think you guys should answer that question. And the other one is this idea of building another resort in the city. Is that what South Haven really wants to do? It's a question for the zoning commission. Do we really need another resort? We've got Victoria Resort by us. And it seems like this would be a permissible use of the property, I think, but maybe not. So I would just say, make sure that if you approve this yurt, you're going to have yurts all over South Haven then, because they are such low-cost solution instead of building permanent housing. So careful.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else?
I'm Jennifer Durkee. I live at 243 Webster Avenue, and according to Mr. Ashen, I would also be one of the neighbors who are of no consequence. 243 Webster. So I think that the city staff did a fair amount of research when this whole proposal first started being heard about, even prior to Mr. Ashen making a formal request. And I think, Mr. Stegman, you kind of alluded to this in the very beginning, that the vast majority of these projects are located outside of city limits, in very rural areas, in the mountains, in places that are not connected to cities. And so for me, I think that whether we call it camping or glamping or yurts or whatever, I don't think that belongs in the city limits. And for that reason, I am opposed to it, and I could go on and on about other issues as well, but I just basically would like to go on record as being opposed to this particular development, and to encourage Mr. Ashen to develop something outside the city limits. And if he chooses to continue to threaten us with having Section 8 housing there, then I would assume that he would go through whatever the proper procedures and zoning changes would be. So at this point, I go on record as saying that I would not be in favor of any changes in zoning or any amendments to current ordinances to allow such a development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please come up.
My name is Terry Harsh. I live at 556 North Shore Drive. I'm in North Shore Estates. I have questions, some for the committee and some for Mr. Ashen. My question as far as the resorts, when we're talking about Victoria Resort, was that not established before the zoning was established so that it was grandfathered in?
It was. That's an old non-conforming use.
Yeah, I realize that, and I think for any of the other resorts, I grew up here also, and those resorts were all there before the zoning, so I think that's kind of a moot point. And you had mentioned yurts in the city limits. Where are yurts in the city limits? I mean, can you give me a city where there's a yurt in the city?
Well, doing some research on yurts, I can tell you this. I called 3 yurt manufacturers to understand about the specs and what makes permanent versus non-permanent. And they sent me a list of cities that they have put their product in. So I don't know the names because a lot of them are out west and they just don't ring a bell. I can't bring them off the top of my head, but there are some that are in city limits out west.
Well, I've lived in 3 western states and worked in most of the other ones. I've never seen any in a city. But that doesn't mean they're not there. But my being familiar with yurts is that they're in remote mountain locations like hiking or snowshoeing yurt to yurt. And that's more of what I think the purpose is. I don't think they belong within the city limits or in a residential area. It just doesn't seem like a good fit to me. And when this started out, it was called glamping. Now it's not glamping anymore. And there was also some discussion of a short-term rental, and that they have to be habitable year-round for that. And I looked up the definition for resorts from the city, and resort units don't have kitchens. I mean, this is all just terminology, but, and short-term rentals are habitable year-round. I think it's questionable whether these are or not, but anyway, yeah, I would go on record saying that I'm opposed to it. Let me see if I hit most of the points. Oh, and the questions I had for Mr. Ashen, I think, have been mostly answered. The only question I have is the anticipated total human capacity for the site. If you've got 18 yurts, how many people does each yurt sleep?
Well, I'm looking for two to 4 maximum. Maybe it'll be an adult couple.
Okay, and where, oh, that one's not up there anymore. Where do you access the parking off of Baseline? Is there a street there now?
No,
Or-
but it's
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so now we're back to the commission, and where you want to go from here? And is he coming back?
Excuse himself for the rest.
Okay.
Are we waiting for him to come back?
No,
Oh.
he'll be, there he is now.
I didn't want to be rude and start.
What do you guys want to do with this item 9?
Well, I'll start because I just feel like we are really trying hard to put some sort of a square peg in a round hole here. Either, we have 2 choices. We can instruct them to change it or deny it based on what it is. And my gut tells me that I would I would rather go with deny the development because it's not listed yet. I just think it might be the wrong time, the wrong project. I don't feel like it warrants, right now in my mind, changing the zoning. My 2 cents.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm still where I was. I'm really not comfortable making a decision either way until we define what the yurt is in the city's point of view. Is it a permanent structure? Is it a glamp? Is it a tent? You know, if it meets the minimum standards of a permanent structure, then that changes the whole ballgame for me. And I haven't heard anything yet, unless I don't know what we do with that. I mean, is it up for us to determine what that structure is?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. You've seen the same thing I've seen up
Yeah.
there. Are you comfortable with that? Or are you not?
I'd be more comfortable with a little bit more research. I know Tim's done research, I'm sure the rest of us have done research. And indeed, some cities declare them as permanent structures, and some see them as more resort temporary structures.
I guess my question, Mike, is what are you looking for? What's the difference between temporary and permanent in the decision that we need to make, whether to go forward or not?
It bothers me a little bit that instead, if we were talking about 14 two-bedroom cottages, we probably wouldn't be here. So it does come down to how we view these structures. If these structures are seen more aligned with cottages, then I'm all for it. If they're more aligned with tents out at the campsite off Phoenix, then I'd be against it.
What's the difference between the cottage and the tent, in your mind?
Whether it's a permanent structure.
One meets the
You're
building
running me
code,
in
one
circles.
meets the building code and the other one
No.
doesn't.
I would think when it comes to the definition of a permanent structure, if it has footings and it's connected to city sewer and water, it's permanent.
That's good.
I agree with that.
And for me, the issue still is, and we've seen large parcels before and how they get divided up and whether they become PUDs or what have you. This is 10 acres. It's not a small piece of property within the city limits. Contrary to other beliefs, I only met Mr. Ashen from when he came here before, in front of us before. I don't know him personally. And it's a unique and interesting proposal for a large chunk of property with something that's seems to be gaining popularity around the nation with sustainable housing as the definition of a yurt. That's where my interest lies.
I think one of the speakers from the audience brought up a good point. If we allow a yurt in this R2, we will be able then to, or we would have to allow yurts in other R2s throughout. Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We can put limits on that. We do site plan reviews, I'm sorry. Special use permits, that's what I'm talking about. We do special use permits. And I think that's essential in this case, because we don't want this type of a development in every R2 in the city. But we've got a unique piece of property here, as Michael has pointed out to us. And I don't know whether this is the right place for it or not. I've been going back and forth on that. But I have to agree, this is a unique piece of property. And I like the idea of preserving it. And certainly 15 yurts or even 25 yurts is going to preserve it a lot better than letting it go as just a general R2. I guess I'm interested in going forward with this and seeing what staff can come up with, given the idea that we need to be working with special use permits for this kind, and I'm not afraid of a yurt. With a foundation underneath it and a roof above it and hook up to city, I think it'll be fine.
So to be clear, if we went that route, would they look at a yurt in an R2 with a special use permit? Or would it be a yurt in any zoning with a special use permit?
We can tell them how we want it,
Okay.
okay?
If I could quickly chime in, I mean, another option would be as a PUD approval only. Again, we have a very large parcel here that makes this a little bit unique. And based on what I've seen in terms of what a yurt is, I didn't really know much going into this meeting. I think there is a question whether they meet the definition of dwelling. I did hear Travis reference a minimum, which I was unable to find quickly in the zoning ordinance, but if there's a minimum width requirement, might possibly not meet what you were describing earlier in terms of the 20 feet.
That might be another revision we need to make.
Right, so that might be something that we would need to put in the definition, but that would be another way to approach it, is require a parcel of a certain size and to go through some type of either special use or PUD approval if you want to cluster multiple on a single parcel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're after 9 now, and we try to keep our meetings to a couple hours.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would move that we instruct staff to draft ordinance language and definitions for the development of use of yurts and development in the R2 district with proper controls.
Okay, been motion.
Support?
It's been supported. Is there any further discussion?
I guess I just would want to make sure then, even if we instruct staff and they go forward and we approve it, that doesn't necessarily mean that we approve this project.
We're only approving the instruction to staff.
Instruction to staff to review yurts.
Well, not just yurts, but this type of development. Call it a glamping, call it resort, whatever you want to call it. But I think we've got two issues that need to be addressed.
Yes.
The use of yurts and this type of development.
Mm-hmm.
The clustering of yurts on a single parcel with.
Clustering of yurts, clustering of anything in resort style.
And do we have other parcels within the city, or would this be almost like a way around spot zoning?
And it would, because this is such a large parcel, it would be the same concept as a PUD, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue here is it's not a small lot like R1A, R1B. This is 10 acres and I don't know, it's America. If I have land and I want to try and rezone it, I should be able to at least try it, right?
Well, and again, I don't think, we're not suggesting with the proposal out there whether we approve it or not. What we're suggesting is bring it back to us in a more definable way so we can take a look at it.
Yeah.
I'm very sympathetic. I mean, I like Webster Street. I really do. It's one of my favorite places to hang. My buddy's got a house back in the holler that I like to go visit. But I really love that piece of property too. And I hope for future land use, we are keeping in mind the bigger picture of how much green space is left in the city. And what's the best use of it? So, but that's the second step. The first step is what's on the board here.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. I'm not going to be voting for this. For two reasons. One is that it's not an approved use. That's I think a hurdle that is probably could be managed. But the yurt, we just got done remodeling a house, and every trade comes in, and there's a inspector, and I can't imagine an inspector that I dealt with here, dealing with a structure that's this far outside of the building code. I don't see it as something that can be considered to be a permanent structure with plumbing and electric and ventilation and egress, ingress, all of it. I don't, it's a huge hurdle that he has to, and in my mind, when I add those two together, I think I won't be voting for this.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, we've had a motion, it's been supported, and Marcia will do the roll on this.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
No.
Hanny,
No.
Varney,
No.
Gruber,
No.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
No.
Stegman,
Yes. Was it 5?
5 no. 3 yes. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so that motion fails. And I'll look for a secondary motion.
I would like to move that we deny the proposed development, citing its absence from the list of approved uses in its R2 residential district and the absence of building code related to the yurt structures.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? The one thing I will say, and like I said originally, there are some alternative housings or housing units that are out there, and we need to be a little more proactive in taking a look at those because they aren't listed in their, I don't know how to say this, they're not listed as a line item in our code, but they're also not in there as, they're not in there as acceptable or not acceptable, they're just not there. And I think we need to take a look at those and at least start inserting them one way or the other. All right. So, we've had a motion, it's been supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Marcia, if you call the roll again.
Heinrich,
No, excuse me, yes, my own motion.
a yes vote means that we are denying it, just
Correct.
as a reminder.
Yes.
Neese,
No.
Nichols,
Yes.
Hanny,
Yes.
Varney,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
No.
Stegman.
No. Motion passes. All right, now we can move on to item 10, New Everett Park PUD amendment. We are going to open a public hearing on this one as well.
Yep. So this item, the developer of the New Everett Park PUD had approached staff and had requested that an amendment to the PUD be placed on this agenda. However, staff was not provided with necessary documents that we would have needed to conduct a review and have it ready for all of you to consider tonight. However, due to the 15-day noticing requirement, 15 days prior to the meeting for publication, as well as the notices that had to be sent to property owners within 300 feet of the property, we're requesting that the commission go forward tonight with at least opening a public hearing, allowing for anyone that wanted to make comments based on the fact that they were notified of a hearing, and then simply close the hearing. And then we will proceed forward in the future when that documentation has been provided.
Okay. Are there any questions to staff before we open a public hearing?
Yes, so I guess my question would be, if, when it does come before us, we will have the opportunity for another.
We'll do the exact same thing. We'll renotice everything it'll be done the exact same way. What we're doing
Okay.
tonight is more or less procedural so that we can follow through with what was noticed so that folks have an
And we'll
opportunity.
leave this public hearing open as well, to accept comment.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion about this? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
I support.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing's open. Does anybody like to speak about the new Everett Park PUD amendment? Please come up to the podium, state your name, address.
Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard. I just wondered if we'll have a chance after we hear the plan to make comment.
Yes, the public hearing will remain open until the next month. Anybody else?
My name is Linda Lamont. I'm at 1010 St. Joseph Street. And I just have a couple of questions or comments. One may not be really relevant to this, but the original phase, I guess it's the first phase that's pretty much finished now in the trail side where the 16 houses are. I'm not real sure because I really haven't dug into the documentation, but I have a concern about the contamination or so said contamination of the dirt because there's those plaques on the ground that say you can't dig a certain depth. Well, it appears to me that the dirt that they took out of where the buildings are, the homes are now, has been left on the site across from St. Joseph Street to the east of St. Joseph Street. There's a big mound of dirt there, which I think is the dirt that they must have taken out of. They did not replace, they brought new fill in, but they never took the old dirt away. So that contaminated dirt is sitting across the street from me and all the other homes in the neighborhood, which is a little weird. But anyway, that's just a comment, and hopefully that's not the case, that it isn't contaminated dirt sitting there. My second question is my concern about the loss of the trees and the natural environment. There's a lot of communities that build subdivisions within their residential areas, but they make an effort to blend the community the way it is into the new development. We've had our complete land just completely leveled, all the trees gone. There's only 2 or 3 trees left on the lot that's finished. And all the rest of the trees have been taken down. There's no transition between the old neighborhood to this new neighborhood, which has 90% of the houses are the same architectural plan. And if that's 16 houses there, then across from me, there's going to be another 30 houses or more, 40 houses in that larger area that are all going to be the same. All the trees are going to be gone. No transition, no concern for the environment, the natural environment, the animals, the birds, the fox, the deer, the woodpeckers, they're all gone. So those are the things that I'm concerned about. If this development proceeds just like the original trail side, we're going to have a golf course subdivision across the street from me, which is kind of disappointing from when I first moved to South Haven, and I love the old residential streets with the big trees. The stately oaks and maples are gone. They're not going to be there anymore. It'll take 40 years before it's even back at all. So I have those concerns. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain another motion. Larry, you made the last one. That was
You really want me to try that again?
very appropriate, so why don't you give it another try?
I move that we hold the public hearing for the new Everett Park PUD amendments open until our meeting on
August 5th.
August 5th.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion?
Is that Gruber that made that supporter?
Support.
Todd? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Now we're down to item 11, commission member and staff comments. Staff goes first.
My only comments tonight are something that I mentioned at the last meeting, and I just want everyone to make sure everyone knows this hasn't fallen off the radar, but I do want to get in touch with Todd, Mike, and I believe Larry were the three to discuss the revetments and shoreline protection. This month got quite busy, and so, but I want everyone to know that we are going to work on that, and then I'll be in touch with the city attorney as well and working to put together some materials for that meeting. And then, like I said, getting in touch with all of you and finding a date that works for a workshop for everybody, so.
Mm-hmm.
No comment.
No comment, okay. Well, since you're new, I'll start on this end so you can get a feel for this, right?
Which means you're going to make me go first again.
I'm going to make you go first again.
I'm going to be brief because we are way late tonight, but I just really would like to thank Travis and Griffin because I know that this has been a week of major communication and emails and discussions and phone calls and questions, and I've been kind of a pain in the neck this week with a lot of questions. So my apologies, and thank you very much for all you do.
I want to welcome Lygie and thank Tim for running a meeting. As it was mentioned during the comments, sometimes this process is messy. Sometimes I get emotional, my voice will quaver. I'm not a great public speaker. So I appreciate how your all time coming here and letting us know. It helps us a lot for you to be here and to let us know what you're thinking. It's messy, but it works in the big picture. That's it.
Okay, I guess I'll also say hi to Lygie. I tried to do that last month, and you've moved, so here he is. Welcome aboard. I guess want to thank staff for all the hard work. To know we're getting a lot of correspondences, which is awesome. Staff make sure that we get a chance to look at that, and many times we also see where that goes on to city council where appropriate as well. So it is good to get that information. I guess the next steps we're going to do with Everett Park, we might want to also look at the November 2019 meeting that we had. I think that was their last adjustment. And Mary Ann also had a good point in that I think there was quite a few of the duplexes that were converted to single family and then moved over into another area. Well, I think when I looked at the documentation we had to review so far, that's going to be in this request by the next phase is to change the types of housing once again from that original PUD. So I think if we had to look at it before, we're probably going to have to look at that again. And I also appreciate the hard work sitting in this chair, and I'm glad I'm not sitting in that chair. That's all I have to say. That's it.
I'd also welcome you. You've seen some of the best and maybe some of the worst, so you should be able to handle anything else we throw at you. That's all I ask.
I welcome you as well. You'll find this is a very balanced and thoughtful commission. It's been a pleasure to work with this group, and I'm sure you'll be, if you have any questions, folks will be more than happy to answer those for you. I also want to thank, though, the public for their comments. They're both informative and thoughtful. You put a lot of work into what you're thinking and wanting to share with us, and I truly appreciate that because it does help form my opinions.
Welcome, Lygie. We're lucky to have Lygie. Lygie is a very active member of our community and gives of himself freely in a number of areas, so it's great to have him on board. I'm going to say thank you again to the staff. You don't know how much we appreciate, Travis, your calls to make sure that we're up to speed on the agenda. We know we got Brad as backup. And I'll call out Tim and Larry again. Tim, your leadership has been very important. We do have diverse opinions on this group, and we get a lot of work done, and that's largely through your leadership. And Larry, without your wisdom, that'd be nothing, buddy. So thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for the warm welcomes. First and foremost, Travis, man, this week you've been on fire, dude, and it's been and it's been pretty humbling to really get a better look at what you guys go through to make the decisions that you make. And I want to thank you guys for the work that you've done prior to me coming on board, and I look forward to working with all of you. And to the folks that have come here to share your opinions today, thank you. This is a humbling opportunity, but most importantly, it's been humbling hearing the passion and the well-thought-out views that you shared today, and I look forward to being a part of this moving forward.
Okay, thank you. One thing I do want to say about being in the chair running these meetings, as you know, I try to maintain a dynamic meeting where we do have public comment, but it's a lot of times it's interactive. You know, if somebody asks a question, we actually try to answer it, whereas a lot of the other commissions, you ask a question and maybe you'll get an email response, but the boards normally do not have a one-on-one conversation. So with that, I say we're a little more transparent than a lot of the other boards, and I pride myself on that, and I hope the audience appreciates the fact of how we run our business here. Secondly, there was a comment made about heavy traffic down in the Elkinburg area. And as someone who grew up here, that one I found kind of interesting because when there were factories there in 1 or 2 or 3 shifts, tons of semi-trucks and the train that would stop in the middle of the road for Lord knows how long, that was heavy traffic. So I guess it's all relative to when you arrive in a certain area and what the developments are at that time. All right, so with that, I hope everybody's having a good summer so far, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll happily support.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's approved, meeting is adjourned.